All right, let's talk about something I think we've all struggled with. It's this. We know what good communication looks like. We've read the books, we've seen the talks. But actually doing it when it counts, that's a whole other story. So today, we're gonna figure out how to build that bridge from just knowing to actually doing.
I mean, really, think about it. Have you ever walked out of a meeting or a conversation and thought, why didn't I say it like that? You had all this great advice in your head, but in the moment, poof, it was gone. It's so frustrating, right? Why is it so hard to follow good advice when we need it most? Well, believe it or not, there is a name for that feeling. It's called the knowing-doing gap. It's that huge, empty space between understanding something in your head and being able to pull it off in the real world. You know, it's like you know all the theory, all the moves, but when you're actually sitting at the board, your mind just goes blank. But here's the really good news. That gap, it's not a chasm you can't cross. It's more like a valley. And with the right tools and the right approach, you can absolutely build a bridge straight across it. We can connect that theory to real, solid practice. So what's the blueprint for this bridge? Well, our source material points to something called an NLP practice session. Now, don't get hung up on the name NLP. That's not the important part. The key words here are structured environment and apply. This is about creating a dedicated, deliberate space to turn what you know into what you can do. Which, of course, leads to the big question. If this practice session is our bridge, how do we actually build it? What are the nuts and bolts? How do we get from just knowing something to mastering it so well it becomes second nature? It really comes down to this simple but powerful three-step process. First, you've got to learn the concepts. That's step one. And this is the part most people miss, you have to immediately move to step two, apply it in practice. It's only by doing that over and over again that you get to the third and final step, achieving real excellence. Okay, let's break down the first big pillar holding up this bridge, and that is active application. This is where we make the huge shift from being a passive sponge of information to an active participant in our own learning. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Look at the left side, passive learning. Reading, watching, listening. It feels good, it feels like you're learning, but a lot of it doesn't stick. Now look at the right. That's where the magic happens. Active practice is about applying concepts, getting into role-playing, and this is huge, getting feedback. It's the difference between reading a recipe and actually getting in the kitchen and cooking the meal. But practicing on your own can only get you so far. Communication is a team sport, right? You can't just practice in a vacuum. And that brings us to the second, equally important pillar, peer learning. I just love this quote from the source material because it's so simple and true. Peer learning is applied. By its very nature, it's not theoretical. It's learning by doing, but you're doing it with other people. That social dynamic isn't just a nice little bonus feature, it is absolutely core to the whole process.
So why does this work so well? Well, for starters, it gives you a safe space to fail. You can try that awkward phrasing or that new technique, and it's okay. Plus, you get real-time feedback from people who know exactly what you're trying to do. It basically simulates real-world chaos in a controlled way, and that reinforces what you've learned 1,000 times better than just reading it again.
So with all this effort, this active application, this peer learning, where are we trying to get to? What's the destination on the other side of that bridge? It's right here. Communication excellence. Not just being good enough, but being truly effective, confident, and influential in basically any conversation. And what it all comes down to is this. You are building muscle memory. Seriously, just like an athlete or a musician drills the same moves over and over until they don't have to think about them, this kind of practice builds the pathways in your brain. So in a high-pressure moment, you don't have to think. You just react effectively and naturally. So we've seen the gap, and now we have the blueprint for the bridge. The path is pretty clear. The only thing left to ask is something just for you. What's one piece of knowledge you have right now that you're going to stop just knowing and actually start doing today?